Live in the human paradise. Breathe the pure air of heaven. Longevity, vitality, and a lifetime of bliss.
住在人间小天堂，呼吸天堂纯气，延寿长生，幸福一生。
So for this deep dive, let's just start with a really provocative claim I found in our sources.
Yeah.
It says that the single greatest defect of human civilization is shockingly simple.
Yes.
It's that we live our entire lives, from birth to death, breathing unclean air.
And that's not just, a simple claim about pollution. It's a full indictment. It's saying our environment is just perpetually toxic 24/7. So our mission today is really to unpack that. This idea that this built-in flaw is the real root cause of why we age faster, why we get sick. And then we'll pivot and look at the proposed engineering fix for it all. The Air 8-free maize purifier.
I think what's so powerful about that idea is how it reframes everything. We spend so much energy worrying about genetics or the perfect diet or exercise. But if these sources are right, and aging isn't really about destiny, but just chronic poisoning,
Yeah.
what does that change about how we should be thinking about our health?
It changes the focus entirely. It means the priority shifts from, fighting symptoms inside the body to just eliminating the cause outside the body. It makes the health crisis an environmental engineering problem, not just a biological one.
Okay, let's dig into that. This civilization built on toxins. When people hear air quality, they usually think of, what, PM 2.5? Smog. But the sources we're looking at say the biggest threat is way more subtle. It's invisible.
Absolutely. We have to look past the visible smog. Our sources are talking about a whole cocktail of invisible killers. These are ultrafine toxins, so small they just bypass all our natural defenses. Take VOCs, for example. Volatile organic compounds.
That's the stuff off-gassing from everything.
Everything. Your new paint, your furniture, cleaning supplies, even perfumes. They are literally airborne poisons we live in.
And I imagine the industrial side is even worse.
Oh, much worse. We're also breathing in acidic and alkaline microparticles. This isn't just harmless dust. It's combustion byproducts, industrial residue. Then you have aerosols, tiny water particles.
The ones that carry viruses.
The very same. But the real sort of star of the show, if you can call it that, is PM 0.1.
Right. Not PM 2.5, which is what we always hear about.
Exactly. The PM 2.5 standard is flawed because it ignores the worst stuff. I mean, to give you a sense of scale, a PM 2.5 particle is tiny, about a 25th the width of a human hair. PM 0.1 is 1,000 times smaller than a hair. And because our world is built on things that break down, car tires, roads, clothes, we're also inhaling heavy metal dust, microplastics, chemical fumes. Think about that new car smell. That's plastic off-gassing, trapped in a sealed cabin with you.
So it's this whole long list of microscopic things trying to get us. What's the common thread here? The VOCs, microplastics, PM 0.1. Why are they so much more dangerous than something the body can, just cough up?
It really boils down to three things: their size, their chemical nature, and the fact that they accumulate. Because they're so incredibly tiny, our lungs they can't block them. They slip right through the membranes in the lungs and go straight into the bloodstream, from there to every organ.
And the body can't break them down.
That's the second, and maybe the scariest part. Many of these are chemically inert. We didn't evolve to metabolize them, so they don't break down, they just build up. They get stored in your fat, your liver, your brain, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
So the longer you're alive, the more of this toxic debt you're carrying. Okay, this is where the sources get really specific. They actually map out a timeline. They connect this slow, chronic accumulation directly to what we just call aging. It's not random.
Yeah.
It's a direct result of living in this toxic environment.
Yes, the sources show a pretty clear curve of deterioration. For the first few years, your body can mostly handle it. But after just 1 year, you start seeing things like chronic, unexplained fatigue. After 10 years, metabolism slows down, which everyone just blames on, getting older.
But there's a tipping point.
There is. The point of no return, really. It's between 20 and 30 years of exposure. That's when the sources say most people living in a modern city hit their toxin saturation point.
It's like a biological debt ceiling. So how does this fit in with what we already know? I mean, we hear about genetics or telomeres shortening. Do these sources just throw all that out?
No, not at all. They don't dismiss genetics. They frame this air toxicity as the limiting factor. It's the main external force that controls how fast all those other decay mechanisms happen. Think about it. Your DNA repair systems are amazing, but what happens when they're constantly choked with microplastics and heavy metals?
Their efficiency just plummets.
Exactly. It drops to near zero. So when you hit that saturation point, what does the collapse look like?
Well, what does it look like?
Everything goes at once. Your immunity drops because your lymph system is overloaded. Your sleep gets worse because your brain is dealing with constant low-level inflammation. Aging speeds up. Organs wear out early. Fertility drops. The body just can't afford the energy for basic maintenance anymore.
And the sources say this isn't disease in the way we usually think of it. It's just
Life in a toxin-based civilization. That's the term they use.
it completely changes the formula for longevity then.
It does. They present a very simple linear formula. Chronic toxin exposure leads to saturation. Saturation slows down repair. Slowed repair means early aging, which leads to organ decline and ultimately a shorter lifespan. The body is never truly in a restorative mode.
And this is where that analogy they use comes in. The air toxins are like a faucet that's always on, dripping poison onto the floor. And all of our modern medicine is just us frantically wiping up the water.
It's a perfect metaphor. We are brilliant at mopping up the consequences. We can manage inflammation, we can slow organ damage, but we've mostly ignored the engineering problem of just turning the faucet off.
Okay, so if the problem is a failure in our environment's engineering, the solution has to be an engineering fix. This brings us to the tech, the Air 8-free Maze Purifier, the thing that claims to shift us from being passive victims to active controllers of our own air.
Right, this is the pivot point. The system is designed to handle that specific cocktail of threats we talked about. It can absorb acidic toxins, it can ionize and break down VOCs, and crucially, it uses an electromagnetic charge to deal with those tiny PM0.1 particles.
Hold on, I want to understand that PM0.1 part better. How do you capture something that small?
Well, you use ionization to give the particles a stable negative charge. And once they're all charged, they naturally start to repel each other and cluster together. So you're basically taking invisible specks and turning them into larger charged clumps that are much easier to catch later on. You're making the invisible visible, electrically speaking.
And what about things like viruses and aerosols?
It uses a two-pronged attack there. First, the high negative ionization helps to destabilize the virus itself. And second, it uses a process to dry out and immobilize them, essentially fixing them onto charged collection plates. They're trapped and neutralized almost instantly.
That's a huge claim. We had to get into the nuts and bolts. The sources mention a mix of electrochemistry, aerodynamics, and something called human longevity engineering, all for something they call single-pass total purification.
Correct. The core architecture is really four things working together. You have ionization, electrostatics, something called labyrinthine flow guidance, and stabilized air pressure. It's an active system, not a passive filter like a HEPA.
Okay, walk me through it. Air goes in one side. What happens step by step?
It starts with steps 1 and 2, ionization and charging. The air passes through a zone that is just flooded with trillions of negative ions. This is where those PM0.1 particles get their charge and start to cluster up, and where acidic compounds begin to get neutralized.
And I saw something in the notes that really stood out. When it doesn't have...
Yes. It explicitly avoids using activated carbon filters, which you find in almost every other high-end purifier. And the reason is critical. Activated carbon works, but it has a limit. It gets saturated. Once it's full of VOCs, it can actually start releasing them back into the air. That's secondary pollution. This system is designed to destroy, not just contain.
So after the particles are charged, they head towards what the sources called the tox box.
Right, the tox box. Technically, it's the electrostatic collection labyrinth. This chamber has a whole series of positively charged collection plates, but the real magic is in the airflow itself. That's the labyrinth effect.
The labyrinth effect. Okay, simplify that for me.
Imagine trying to shake a handful of sticky, negatively charged marbles through a winding tube. Instead of a straight path, the air is forced through over 60 sharp turns. It's an active directed collision design. The sheer inertia from hitting all those corners literally throws the negatively charged particles into the positively charged walls where they stick.
They're forced to collide and get trapped. But doesn't that wall just get dirty and clogged?
That's where the electrochemistry comes in. It doesn't just trap them. The moment a pollutant like formaldehyde hits the wall, a process called electrochemical oxidation is triggered. The sources even give the formula. The formaldehyde reacts with negative oxygen ions and is transformed into harmless CO2, water, and electrons.
So it's constantly cleaning itself.
Exactly. The pollutants are chemically decomposed into harmless gases. The structure never gets saturated with toxins because it's always regenerating.
And this all happens, in less than 1/10 of a second for a single pass of air.
That's what the specs say. Incredibly fast.
So the end result of all this is what the sources are calling the Air 8-free standard. I have to be critical here.
Yeah.
Super heaven air quality sounds like pure marketing. Are there real metrics behind these 8 claims? How do we actually know it's toxin-free?
Well, super heaven is definitely colorful language.
Yeah.
But the claim itself is based on the technical results you get when you combine ionization with this kind of electrochemical decomposition. The sources cite their own internal validation across all 8 categories, which they argue sets a completely new benchmark.
And those 8 categories are?
They are the 8 free claims, the measurable goal: dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free, smoke-free, odor-free, heavy metal-free, microplastic-free, and aerosol-free. According to their research, hitting that standard is the key to breaking through humanity's current lifespan barrier.
Which brings us all the way back to the biology.
Yeah.
The sources are careful to say this isn't some kind of magic rejuvenation thing. It's just an engineering fix that lets our own biology, which is already brilliant at repair, finally do its job properly.
Precisely. Think of all the energy your body wastes every single day processing and storing these toxins. If you reduce that load to near zero, the body can immediately reallocate all those resources. It pushes that toxin saturation point back by years or even decades. The natural, youthful repair rhythm comes back.
The consequences of that would be huge. Better sleep, for one. But also, children growing up without that immediate, lifelong buildup of toxins from the day they're born.
And that's the final conclusion from their research. It's compelling. Once the air is clean, the faucet is off. Toxins stop coming in. Repair speed goes back to its natural baseline. And that, they argue, naturally leads to a longer life and a stronger next generation just by removing the constant attack from the outside.
So to wrap up this deep dive, we've gone from what the sources call the greatest defect of human civilization, all the way down to the technical mechanism, patented, by the way, that claims to solve it through ionization and this labyrinth flow idea.
Right. And since these sources are pretty clear that the Air 8-free system is the only technology that can fix this defect, it leaves you with a final, pretty provocative thought. If this whole premise is accurate, that the air we breathe is the hard ceiling on our current lifespan, how quickly would a technology like this go from being a niche health gadget to a non-negotiable necessity for every single indoor space on the planet? And what would that really mean for the average lifespan of every person born from then on? It's a question that suggests we all need to look a lot deeper into these ideas of toxin saturation and electrochemical air treatment.
Air 8-free maze purifier. The world's first single-pass purifier. Combining ionization, electrostatics, and airflow maze. The machine replaces humans. To absorb and destroy every toxin, air enters the ion zone. Viruses and dust gain negative charge. They pass electrostatic filters. Then enter the toxbox maze. Aerosols dry on electrode walls, breaking down into CO2 and water. Inside the maze, air twists and strikes over 60 times. Each turn ends a toxin's life. Billions of particles in 0.1 second are fully purified. It releases Earth's purest air. The super heaven air quality. 8-free, dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free. Smoke-free, odor-free, heavy metal-free. Microplastic-free, aerosol-free. Not just an air machine. The only key to lifespan freedom. U.S. Patent No. 8268058B2.